Richard Flanagan, welcome back to 7:30.
It's lovely to be with you, Lee.
In your new novel, you write of the bushfires, photos of ember blizzards, smoke so thick you couldn't see across the road, 4,000 people with no way out gathered on the beach with the firefighters forming a cordon around to protect them. Sand doesn't burn, someone tweeted. It wasn't even mid-morning. 49 Celsius, 90-kilometre winds. When the fire trucks sounded their sirens, everyone was to get under the sea. When you watched that on television at the start of this year, what impact did that have on you?
Well, I felt what so many Australians felt, I think, Lee, a horror, but also a sadness, because all these things have been predicted. It was known they were going to happen. And here in Tasmania, we'd seen something very similar the year before when unprecedented fires had happened here, when our rainforests had dried out and started burning, and when they wouldn't stop burning. And it was at that time I'd been trying to write another novel, but it couldn't give throat, I guess, to this sort of shriek, this rising terror I felt filling me. And it was with the way in which so much was vanishing, so much that was beautiful in our world was disappearing. Animals, birds, plants, rainforests, beaches, beautiful places I'd grown up loving and which I realised my grandchildren would probably never see. And I guess I was trying to give tongue to this strange autumn of things. And I wanted to frame it not with anger or with rage, but with sadness and with a sort of, it may sound odd, but a sort of kind gratitude for having known such beauty in the world and then seeing it disappear.
Do you think that people are cognisant that we could be in a kind of autumn?
Well, I guess I wrote the book in part because it struck me that the more things vanished and the more you pointed out these things out to people, the more people just pointed to their phones and tried to live an alternative life in an alternative reality, the more people didn't want to know. And I was trying to make, through an absurd story, show actually how fantastical the world we're living in now is, how reality now has become absurd. And I wanted people to see how strange the world has actually become.
Why do you think people don't want to talk about these things and, as you say, frequently engage in alternate theories of reality? Is it selfishness? Is it hopelessness? Is it all of it?
I don't know, Lee. You know, when I was writing the book, I just think it's a deeply human thing to avoid horror, to avoid the truth, to invent or to pretend that the worst hasn't happened, to try and stumble on as though we're not living in something that could be the end of times. And unless we are honest about that, we're going to end up in a very desperate place. We're all going to end up on that beach under the terracotta sky, and jammed between a rising ocean and a burning bush.
Do you think that the public's been truly able to process the complete horror of scenes like that and reckon with it, given that we were immediately then thrown into the crisis of the pandemic and with families going through the kind of life and death moments that you write about in this novel?
Well, I think it's an extraordinary time for people because we really had half a century of a sort of static world, a world where slowly things grew better and more prosperous, and now suddenly everything's changed and we're in an era of crises. We had the bushfires, now we've got coronavirus, and I think it's not going to end. It's not that it's the new normal. It's not that the past was normal. It was the past that was abnormal, that period of prosperity, that period where things always got better. If you look at the full gamut of human history, that's very unusual, very strange. And perhaps what we're living in now is much more what humanity's lived with through most of our species' existence. But I'm hopeful. I say in the book that perhaps it's a crisis of love. Perhaps we've forgotten how to honour the beauty that's all around us, the goodness that's all around us, how to acknowledge the kindness we see. There's too much attention given to the Trumps of the world, the horror of the world, are not enough to the people around us. And there's so much goodness and kindness amongst everyday people who are too easily dismissed as everyday. I think if we were to look to that, we could find hope and find a way forward. And it was in that spirit that I tried to write about these things in this novel.
Richard Flanagan, thank you.
Thank you, Lee.
Hi, I'm Lee Sales. Thanks for watching this story. If you'd like to watch more of 730's stories, they are on the left of your screen. And tap on the button below to subscribe and get the latest from ABC News.